Morning, everyone. This is Brett Simon. So I thought I'd do a quick live session. I've got probably half hour to spare. If anyone's got any questions for me, I'd be happy to take those questions. Just also a quick plug for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is Super Bowl Sunday, but Jesse Bless and I seem to have a tradition forming of chatting on the Super Bowl Sunday morning. So we plan to do a session tomorrow. We're particularly going to be talking about educational certificates and educational processes, particularly about some stuff that's been going on at the Morocco embassy and also for Somalis, trying to get their educational credentials accepted in DV lottery interviews. We're going to talk about that because some people have approached Jesse Bless to actually try and fight those cases for them. So we can discuss that and put the pros and the cons and try and figure out what's going on. Anyway, so let's answer these questions. So immediately someone comes in and talks about the Go appeal case, and that's a good prompt for me to talk about DV 2020 and DV 2021. And so those two cases, all of those cases, rather, there are several cases all wrapped up into an appeal. The appeal has already been heard, but there's an appeal tribunal going through, and 3 judges have to make their decision. We don't know when they're going to make their decision. There's no way to either predict that or hasten that decision. They can take as long as they want. We had hoped that was going to be available in around about January. It clearly didn't happen in January. And so we just have to wait for the outcome. So all the other questions that you may have about DV 2020 and DV 2021, basically we don't know because we don't know what is going to be the outcome of the appeal yet. Okay, so that's basically the answer there. Okay, 2022 winner from OC. From Sydney, been in New York City for 4 months now. Just booked my first Broadway show. That's awesome. You booked your first Broadway show to star in it or to go see it? Either way, congratulations. Welcome to the States and live your best life. Okay. After submitting AOS and completing biometric, how long does it take for the interview? How long is a piece of string? There's no way to predict that, right? It's not like a standard. It's not like they have to sort of interview you within 2 weeks or 4 weeks or some timeline. There's no way I can predict that. It's totally down to the scheduling of the individual embassy. EU 18K 2023. If our issue will issued, if we plan to go after a month for green card process, but we have come back due to financial issues. Is it okay to go to US after 2 to 3 months? I'm a little confused what you're saying, but basically the rules are, I think you haven't been there to go after a month for green. Okay, so it sounds like you're talking about the initial entry. When you were given the visas, it has on there an expiry date of the visa. You must enter before that expiry date. It's very difficult, almost impossible to get that extended. And you'd need significantly good reason, a very valid reason to have that extended. So make sure you enter before that expiry date, right? Without fail. Don't mess with that. And really, there's nothing you've got going on in your life, even financial issues, that should stop you getting to the USA within that validity date. The validity date, by the way, for people that may be interested, is based on the date of the medical, adding 6 months to the date of the medical. So if you take your medical, let's say a month before your interview, and then you wait for a month for issuance after the interview, it may be that you've lost a couple of months of validity already on your visa because it was dated from when you took your medical. So don't book your medicals too early, is the moral of that story, okay? Well, I'm not sure King Simon, is appropriate, but thank you for the sentiment. How do I see Nairobi embassy going? People are becoming afraid. They've got good reason to be afraid. I'm afraid Nairobi is behaving badly. They're scheduling an inadequate number of interviews each month, and so a backlog is building up. And the longer that goes on without Nairobi changing their strategy, the more likely it is that significant numbers of people will miss out. There is nothing we can do about it. We've tried lawsuits in the past, we've tried Twitter campaigns, we've tried everything. You're welcome to try everything again, but honestly, it's up to them. Now, what that means is if you are thinking you're going to be scheduled at Nairobi, but you haven't already been scheduled, and you're not already in AV status, you haven't received an email saying you're current for interview processing, then you should try and move your embassy to somewhere else. And the way you move your embassy to somewhere else is by moving countries. Sounds ridiculous, I know. Maybe you don't have the financial assets to do that. Maybe you don't have the opportunity, but that is the most reliable way to get KCC to schedule you somewhere else. The fact that you don't ask them to move your embassy, you ask them to unlock your form, you change your address because you're now living in somewhere else. That then leads to scheduling at a different embassy. Oh, excuse me. Noid says, moved from Afghanistan, winner DV 2022. Do I have a chance of taking interview? If you're DV 2022 and you haven't already got your interview, then you have absolutely no chance whatsoever, 100% certain, no, it's over. DV 2022 is over. And not only is it over because of the date, because it ends on September 30th, it's over because they issued all of the visas and then some. They issued more visas than they should have issued, actually. So, no, it's 100% finished. There's no possible way, right? It doesn't matter who you ask. Doesn't matter what lawsuit you bring. There's no way to fix it. I'm trying to be as blunt as I can to make sure you understand you've got to move on from this, okay? Thank you for Mr. Brett for the information. I'm DV 2023 winner from Cameroon. Got my visa. Awesome. Cameroon's doing pretty well. I think UND is doing pretty well with issuances and with scheduling. What are the necessary documents DV applicants should have after the interview before traveling to the US? When you go to the US, the embassy would have given you a brown envelope with all of your necessary documents in. You need that and your passport. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. Now, it's wise to make sure you can take some other documents which will be useful for you for establishing your life in the USA. But I'll leave that to your common sense. There's no other documents you actually need, okay? Roshan from Nepal, finally in the US. Oh, thank you, Roshan. That's very kind of you to say so. To star in it, is that for real? I'd love if that's for real, Christopher. Please let me know what you're doing there. That is awesome. And let me know, and I'll come and watch you, or at least I'll try and find out about it. But that's awesome. Good luck to you. What a life! I mean, if you're in that field and you come to America and you get to star on Broadway, I mean, does it get any better than that? Awesome. Hello, Britt. Hope you're doing well. Can you please give me some advice for the interview? Thanks a lot. Don't be late. There's lots of people who ask me questions about this, and so a few years ago I established a page where people could give their interview experience accounts. And so for a few years now, people have been adding their stories to that on my webpage, on my blog at brittsimonsays.com. And if you Google Britt Simon interview experience or something like that, you will get to the page where people have listed all of their experiences. And that gives you a very good idea of the sort of questions that will be asked. You don't need to be worried about the interview. It's a very simple interview normally. So tell the truth, have your documents prepared, make sure you've read the instructions. For goodness sake, please read the instructions. And in terms of what to wear and how to, how to make yourself appear, etc., you just smart casual. They're not looking for someone dressed in very fancy clothes or anything. I mean, but just relax. It's not a complicated process. The interview itself is, traditionally seen as an anticlimax after all this waiting, and then you have an interview that lasts 4 minutes or 3 minutes or something, and then you're approved. right? So don't worry about it. It's not difficult. Mohammed says, just want to say thank you for showing in every now and again. I highly appreciate your efforts. Stay safe. Love from Sudan. Thank you. That's very kind. What is the visa bulletin for 2023? What do you mean? So if you Google visa bulletin, you can see all the latest visa bulletins, and it will be published every month. And so I can't tell you what it will be for the rest of 2023. Go have a look at it. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean. A lot of cases in AP from Kenya Embassy. Why? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's that unusual. I haven't seen numbers that look ridiculously unusual. Just looks pretty normal to me at the moment. But I'll keep an eye on it. Belgrade Embassy, scheduled CNs till around 23K for the month of March. So that means they're working almost perfectly. Yeah, when you see an embassy that has cases scheduled up to the March visa bulletin number for that region, right? Then yes, that's an indication that they are working up to date, that they don't have a backlog that's already built up from the first few months. If you go check out Nairobi, for instance, you'll see that even up to the end of March, they've only scheduled cases under 9,000, which was the Africa current number back in, that was announced in October, I believe, right? That particular number, 9,000, maybe November, for December. So they are several months behind in terms of their backlog, and that's the problem that we're seeing there. So yeah, that's what it means for Belgrade. You're correct. What about Algeria for 41K? I'm not going to make predictions on individual case numbers or even sort of final numbers, but good luck. Tell us something about what's going on with Colombo Embassy. Normally they were pretty good, but it seems to disappoint us this time around. A little bit of sign of backlog there, but let's see how that goes. I think your point about normally they are pretty good is important. Let's see if they improve over the next month or two. I hope so. And if they don't, unfortunately, there's not much you can do about it. There's not much we can do to encourage them or sue them or anything like that. Is it okay to see some cases with higher case numbers being ready status while mine, which is at lower case number, being at MVC status? It's perfectly normal. That happens all the time. There's a misunderstanding that the government have to go in strict numerical order. They don't, because all the people behave in different ways. Some people submitted their forms, their DS-260 immediately as soon as they're announced as winners. People waited 6 months, right, or 7 months. I mean, there are still people who haven't submitted that want to take up their chance, but some people just wait, right? So consequently, the cases that are processed first get interviewed first. And so for whatever reason, whether you submitted your DS-260 late or whether your case was more complex to process, it means that you've been slowed down a little bit. Perfectly normal. And as long as your embassy is behaving well, it's nothing to worry about. Talam from Kenya, I fill in DS-260 on the 10th of May. My status reads ready for interview, process case number AF 38,000. Interview is Nairobi. Holy crap, you're one of the few cases they've taken, and good luck to you. For goodness sake, please do read the instructions, make sure you're well prepared. You've got a once in a lifetime opportunity, and despite Nairobi being misbehaving, you've got an opportunity here. Don't waste it, please. Good luck, okay? How long is the validity of the I-134? It hasn't got a specific validity, but it should be recent at the time you presented at the interview. In other words, get it when you've got your 2NL, so that it's signed in the last few weeks just before the interview, and all of the documentation that goes with it, like the 1040, the W-2s, payslips, that stuff should be up to date. It should be the latest available of those documents, okay? Abdi from Somalia, DV 2023 winner, currently in Bahrain with case number 19K, sent the DS in May with your advices unlocked in November 4th and received the 2NL in December. Had my interview 30th of Jan and approved. Great, awesome. In Somalia and in Bahrain. So Bahrain did pretty well in your case then. I'm pleased to hear it. and I don't know why you unlocked. I can't remember why you needed to, Abdi, but it is important that people understand. Please ignore these fools that say don't unlock. They're absolutely incorrect. They don't know what they're talking about. And it is normal and correct to unlock and correct your DS260 if you need to. Now, I'm not saying unlock it for any just random reason, but if there's an important reason that you need to correct your DS260, you should not feel afraid to do so. And as Abdi is demonstrating, it doesn't have to slow down your case. You can still get your scheduled interview and get your issued visa. So, anyway, congratulations, Abdi. Saki Amiri says, hi, Brett, my case is current February, but I didn't receive a turnout. I asked KCC, your DS260 has been processed. Okay, interviews are scheduled numerically, blah, 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 blah. Your embassy is, next message says it's Tashkent. I think you mean Tashkent, right? Okay, so I don't think Tashkent is very delayed. So, and I have to check that, but I think it's okay. But I think you'll probably be scheduled, fairly soon. So just be patient. Your DS260 has been processed. You're at an embassy that I think is okay. And your case number is pretty low anyway. So, should be all right. Any updates for 2020? Yep, I spoke about it right at the beginning of the video. I gave the update. Please rewind and watch that, okay? Kingsford, thanks for the good job you're doing to help DB winners. Your information is accurate. God bless you. Thank you. Have a great day. Please, I wrote to KCC for case transfer on Wednesday, but did not get any reply, even auto reply. What could be the problem? I don't know. I don't manage the team there. Sorry. My wife. You want to come and say hello? I don't know where I put it.
Okay. Where's your key?
The key for your car is on the washing machine. Take care of that. Sorry, we're shuffling my daughter around, doing lots of things. That's why I've only got a half hour. So, hang on a second. I'm going to come back to you. So, did I answer that question? Yeah. What could be the problem? I don't know what the problem is. I think the problem is just a lack of patience on your part. To be honest with you, Patience. Oh my God, your name is Patience. Come on. Read your name and practice a little bit of patience. You emailed them on Wednesday, okay? It's not like, it's not been a month, right? Just relax. Now, Mario, thank you for joining, Mario. I see you answer a lot of questions on the DB2023 global site, so thank you for your help there. So do you think South America will continue all their cases until the end of DB 2023, or interview all their cases until the end of DB 2023? Okay. They can't interview all of them. They wouldn't even try to, because there are simply too many people, right? Now, the question is, how badly oversubscribed are they, and what factors are going on in that region that will stop some people going through to interview? So, for example, let's just take Africa for a moment as an example. Africa has way too many selectees. It's obvious that if everything was working well, there would be all the visas would be gone before all of the people would be interviewed. However, because there are some embassies like Nairobi and Ghana that are affecting quite high numbers of the selectees, the bad news that is happening at those embassies is good news for people in other embassies, right? Because unfortunately, the way it works is the government don't care who gets the visas. They're not looking to issue visas by country. They issue visas within the region and within the global number, right? So KCC don't care, frankly, if there's Kenyans, Ugandans, Ghanaians, or Cameroonians. They don't care where the visas go. It's simply a numbers game, right? So if Nairobi decide to destroy the chances of their local population, unfortunately, the rest of Africa will continue using those visas, and that's bad luck for the people in Nairobi and good luck for everyone else, right? Now, is that same thing going on in South America? I don't think so. Cuba is always a bit of a problem. but there are signs that it might be getting a little bit better this year. But that's usually a large number of people that are affected. There are obviously political instabilities and challenges for people in other countries too in South America. But I don't think there's massive amounts of artificial interference coming in to South America. So those people that want an interview in South America probably have got a good chance. And if there is a cutoff, it won't be too drastic, because we've watched South America do pretty well in terms of its numbers before, because quite a lot of people don't go through the process. They can't afford it, or whatever else, whatever factors makes them not go ahead, right? Okay, Mario, hope that helps. Anyway, I hope that explains. It's not an easy thing to give time to people for free, but giving us time, that's a very big thing to appreciate. Well, thank you. I'm getting a lot of messages this morning of gratitude and thankfulness. So I appreciate the sentiment, everybody. I really do. So thank you for that. I submitted in October, but completely I have failed to get processed. My case number is AF40K. Okay, so I heard of a case submitted in December that has been processed already. And I did say some weeks ago that once we started seeing KCC get into July, August, September, things will move very quickly from that point. That has happened, so I was accurate on that. The reason I was able to make that prediction was because I've seen it for 10 years, obviously, but clearly from a common sense point of view, you can guess that most people submitted in May and June. And so by the time we get into July, August, September, October, there are less submissions for KCC to do. So it will appear that they're going faster, but it just means there's less submissions they're looking at. So pretty much now, I mean, we're almost at the point where you could say, look, there pretty much is no backlog. Somebody with a very simple case, probably a European, frankly, a single applicant, lived in Europe, that sort of thing, could probably submit now and would probably be processed within 2 to 3 weeks from now, let's say, maybe 4 weeks from now. It's going to be like that, right? The one that I heard of submitted in December, I think, was turned around in a week or so, week and a half. And it is possible for them to do that if there's nothing difficult about the case, and they're dealing with a person from a country where the United States and that country have very good connected systems. They can do the background checks instantly. They're not worried about somebody from Germany who's got a limited travel history, and they're not worried about that, right? Now, if you're from the Middle East and as I've said before, slightly cheekily, your name is Osama bin Laden II, you can expect things to take a bit longer. Is that fair? No, it's not fair, but that's the way it is, right? What do I think about WC Embassy? How they're doing? They seem to be doing okay. I didn't notice any particular slowdown at that embassy, but do look at the video I produced a couple of videos ago that shows you how you can check your own embassy. The intent of that video was so that instead of studying 150 embassies, that you could all go and study your embassies that you're concerned with, right? And therefore you can answer those questions, or answer your own questions, I should say. Is it possible that Algeria will reach the threshold of 7%? No, I would put money on that not happening. It would take every selectee in the country, that has been chosen. I can't remember the number that they've got, but it would take every single one of them to go through their interview, or to submit the DS-260, which won't happen, to go through their interview successfully, which wouldn't happen, right? And to have no AP. And so no, we get a lot of people drop out the process that don't proceed with the process, they don't submit their DS-260, or they submit their DS-260, but they don't show up for the interview, or they go for the interview, but they're refused, or they're put on AP. And so it's sort of there's a filter going on. So no, they won't reach the 7%. Okay. You said in one of your videos that only the host should fill out the I-134 form, but other people are saying that the immigrant and the host both can fill out their part of the form. I made a whole video on how to fill out the I-134 that shows the parts that the applicant fills out and the parts that the host fills out. So, or the supporter. So I don't know. So I don't really think I agree with the fact that I said only the host should fill out the form, right? So there you go. What happens if a derivative couldn't come to the interview at all, or couldn't go to the interview? Does the principal and the other derivatives go to AP until that derivative goes to the interview? It's a case-by-case basis. Basically, if you have a derivative that doesn't turn up for the interview, then you're going to talk to the CEO about what you want to happen. Do you want that person to be interviewed? Do you want that person to get a visa, right? That derivative. If you do, how are you going to do that? And then the CEO is going to talk to you, and you'll have a negotiation or a common sense conversation about what the way forward is. You know, and it may be that you're put on AP while the derivative is arranging another interview, or you can be issued. But if you're issued, it will mean that the derivative won't get a visa. So be careful how you handle that, right? Susan says, hello, Brett Simon, kindly assist with your email, thanks. I don't answer messages via email and private message. There's a couple of reasons why, and perhaps I should just take this time to explain again. Most of the reason that I don't answer direct messages is because if I answer a message to one person in private, it helps that one person, but it doesn't help anyone else. If I answer a question in public, other people read it. I get a lot of people reading my blog every year, and many people never ask a question, but they read the answers I've given to others, and by that way, they get help themselves, right? So I'm interested more in answering questions in public so I can help more people. That's the first reason. The second reason I don't do it is a more recent reason. I'm sorry to say that there is a particular lawyer, Curtis, who has threatened me a couple of times with reporting me for the unauthorized practice of law, UPL. He seems to be suggesting that I'm offering legal services in an illegal way. I'm not. It's utter bullshit. And Curtis just says that because he was crying like a little baby over a couple of things where I spanked him. So he comes out with this threat. However, if I were to take direct emails from people, it would give the appearance more that I'm working for someone individually. And therefore, it would lend some weight to his accusation, even though there has never, ever been a case where I've taken any fees from anybody, or I have never represented myself as a lawyer. None of that. I mean, it's all nonsense. His accusation is complete nonsense, and he knows it very well. He's just being a baby about it. But nevertheless, I have to now be even more strict than I was before about that particular thing because of Curtis's perspective. Okay, and I'm sorry about how things have gone with Curtis. You know, it's unfortunate. Perhaps I'll just leave it there. Because I don't wish the man any ill will, but threatening serious consequences on me because of an accusation of UPL, frankly, is not cool. Not cool at all, because I've spent 10 years helping people. I've been helping people in DV lottery before he was a damn lawyer. And, you know, he went through a crappy law school, gets his law degree, and now threatens people because I'm giving free advice. You know, that's not cool. All right, that's my perspective. So, Curtis, I hope you'll finally listen to what I just said. Perhaps. How do you get a host if you don't have any from Ghana? I don't know. I have no idea. The host system is somewhat of a mystery to me. It's really commonly used in some of the African countries to have a host, but you have to understand from a Western European perspective, it's just like, it's not something I would ever consider doing. I wouldn't ask someone to host me and my family. It culturally, it's just not something I would do. So how it goes on, how it happens, I don't really know. So I can't really comment on that. Okay. Case number is AF47 and your embassy is Ankara. Any advice? Yeah, move, Sophia. You're not going to get an interview at Ankara. You're going to be extremely in trouble. They're delaying interviews. They're very behind. They've got a backlog. Move. If you want your green card, you've got to move before you're current, right? Mr. Marshall or H. Marshall, or Mr.? No, that's not Mr. by that photo. So have a look at my video. I explain carefully how to fill in that form. So perhaps go and have a look at that. It's on my Facebook. It's on my YouTube channel. Filled my AOS package last week. AOS is adjustment of status. Do I have to complete my bio in the same state as my mailing address on the application? Currently out of state for a couple of months. No, I think you could do it somewhere else. We used to do things called walk-ins for a biometric. So that would probably still work, but I'm not 100% sure. If you're doing adjustment of status, you should be following the advice of someone's mum, which is, that's a username of someone at the DV Lottery Forum, which is immigration.com forum. Anyway, follow someone's mum, and she is an absolute treasure in terms of DV related adjustment of status. She knows DV very well, but she's particularly strong on adjustment of status, and I wouldn't trust anybody more than her to give good advice on diversity related adjustment of status. Okay. Can I change my post from Nairobi to Doha? Possibly. I don't know. Try. I've given a couple of videos just recently and a BritSimonSays.com explanation of how you move your embassy. So go ahead and do that. Okay. Wow, you got scheduled, Ivy. Well done, from Ghana. That again, like I said to someone earlier, make the most of that chance. Ghana are only scheduling 30 cases a month right now. So you're one of those lucky 30 in that given month. Please make sure you take that opportunity, and make sure you succeed. Best of luck to you. Kindly advice on what to do when one of the derivative doesn't want to travel with you. Do you fill in the DS-260 for them? No, if you are 100% sure that you don't want this spouse or derivative to travel with you, then there's no need to fill in a DS-260 for them. But be very sure you understand what you're doing. If they ever want to join you again in the future, and they want to move to America later, for example, that's going to be a long and expensive process to actually get them a visa. So make sure that that's really what you and your family want to do. Okay. I'm going to take a couple more questions and I'll have to call it a day. Okay. I made a mistake. I put vocational training in my initial application, but on the DS-260, I put high school diploma because that's my highest level of education. Can it affect my interview? No, people get very worried about the two questions. One is on the DS-260 and one is on the original entry. And there's a question in there that asks you about your education level. And it's not, that is not considered to be a representation, a material representational fact. It's simply, they're trying to collect data to see, for example, of the 25 million people who have entered the lottery, what sort of educational background do they say they have, right? So it doesn't matter if what you chose in the original entry isn't accurate, right? That's not going to cause a disqualification. It just doesn't. Okay. Do DV applicants need to take their X-ray with them during traveling? Generally, no. When you go through the immigration process at the port of entry, which is the first airport you land in America, I've known people to try and hand over their X-rays, and the immigration officer just say, no, we don't need that. So you take it with you, but it's not a big deal. It's normally on a CD these days. So, but it probably won't be asked. Right, last question. Oh, here you go. This is a sort of related question. When flying for the first time in the US and there's a layover in another state that is not the destination I listed on my DS-260, can I check in at the US at the layover layover US airport, even if it's not your final place. What you mean is you have, for whatever crazy reason, decided to go to, Dakota or something, to emigrate to Dakota. And if you do, by the way, like, have a serious consideration, like, why the hell are you going to Dakota? But anyway, let's say you're going to a place, that's where you intend to go, but the first plane that goes to America lands in New York State, at New York City, right? At Kennedy, right? Now, because that's the first place, you'll go through immigration at the first place, the port of entry where you land, and then there's an internal flight that you connect to later. So you make sure you allow about 3 to 4 hours between those two flights for the connection time, right? But other than that, you'll be processed and you'll become a permanent resident at the first port of entry, not in Dakota. But again, don't go to Dakota. I'm just using that as an example. For God's sake, nobody go to Dakota. Like, why would you? You won a green card. You're going to change your life, and then you make a stupid decision in the place you want to live. Honestly, people do it all the time. Not just Dakota. There's some awful places to live in America. So, use some common sense. This is a rebirth. Okay, so I said that was my last question. I'm just scanning down, make sure there's no one I want to say hi to. Other regulars. No, I think we're good. Damn, I've been struggling with the cough for a few days, so I'm trying to shake it off, but I apologize if I've been coughing in the microphone. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, I think we'll probably do it around about 8 a.m. my time. I'm in California. Jesse's on the East Coast. That would be about 11 a.m. his time. We haven't set the time yet, but look out for a session tomorrow morning with Jesse, Bless, and myself, and we'll do a live session, and we'll be particularly focusing on educational documents and the standards of education being required at various embassies around the world. We'll be particularly focused on that, okay? All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Cheers now. Bye-bye.